I've got to not cry on your podcast. Okay, I'll cry on your podcast. It was one of those films that was my friend when I was 12 to 14, and it's problematic and there are issues with it, but I love it so much.
You take it back.
I do. I offer a complete and utter retraction. The imputation was totally without basis in fact and was in no way fair comment and was motivated purely by malice. And I deeply regret any distress that my comments may have caused you or your family. And I hereby undertake not to repeat any such slander at any time in the future.
For anybody who's about to listen to this, they should know that through extreme technical difficulties and also some feelings about 2025, we accidentally recorded an episode without Jaclynn about A Fish Called Wanda.
Accidentally? I know. My computer died in the middle. Terrible. I just tucked myself into bed and tried not to cry. And then y'all just kept going without me. Yeah.
I think maybe accidentally may have been the wrong word. but I'm with Cole in that it felt very strange to just stop talking.
Robbie's been married 11 years. He's better at phrasing things.
In our defense, we could go to the text messages.
Cole has the receipt.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I said keep going without me, but what I meant was you can't do this without me, and you know it, and I know it, and you love me, and you're gonna all worry about me. But no, you didn't. You all were like, you know what? Yeah, let's go to the text messages, Cole. Because what did you write back? I was like, go without me, and Cole wrote.
Copy. And I'm very sorry for it.
I'm very sorry.
Second part of it.
Recorded without me. Mm-hmm.
So there's this episode of The West Wing, which Rob Lowe has accidentally slept with a prostitute. It's in the first season. And
accidentally sleeps with a prostitute. Okay.
He did not know that she was a prostitute. And when he brings it up to Toby was like, what? Did you trip and fall in?
Exactly.
We stumbled into a conversation.
We did.
I don't know how we ended up at Hooters. It was such an accident.
The wings were phenomenal.
Yeah. I read it for the articles. Accidentally.
Inadvertently.
Ooh, if I use my SAT words, I'm definitely going to get out of this.
It was a quixotic, circuitous route to
okay. So we were testing mics.
Conversation.
Pretentious
alert. We were testing mics before you showed up, Robbie, and trying to figure out, like, because sometimes one mic will pick up all of our voices and not just not keep them individualized. And so we're testing them, and it came up that perhaps I'm just so loud that I get picked up on all the other mics. So I say, am I just too loud? And Cole says,
no, you're quite sonorous.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we're back on good ground. I think we're really back on good ground. Yeah.
We're back, friends. No, yeah, I did want you to keep going, but also my feelings got really hurt.
I'm so sorry.
Both are true. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
ごめんなさい。私は私に一緒に帰国見えなくね思ったりしています。
Just to clarify, let me step in as Japanese translator Jaclynn to explain this very inside bit. For those of you who perhaps don't know, I lived in Japan for a year. If you stay a listener of this podcast, you'll probably hear all about it. Cole sure has. And whenever he wants to lovingly mock me, he'll usually do some sort of Japanese gift. So the end of that was a Japanese apology that just said, I'm so sorry. I've brought you to hell with me.
But it's a bit more of an emotional episode than you would expect about a comedy, because the way that we presented the conundrum of should we go forward with this to our guest Sophie, who's Jaclyn's very, 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 very good friend, was that we don't feel comfortable going forward with it. ... Parentheses. Part of the reason is that Jaclynn, from what I remember from our short conversation prior to recording, didn't seem like she was going to have loved A Fish Called Wanda.
Oh, did you say that?
Yeah, Guts was like, why wouldn't she?
Oops. I was worried. I was nervous because I didn't want to hurt Sophie's feelings, but I found it offensive.
So a lot of what Sophie spoke about was dancing around that and her memories of it very specifically. It was not a typical episode. It wasn't a deep dive on
No,
all
because I
the
wasn't
mechanics.
there.
Yeah.
Of course it wasn't a typical episode.
I'm just trying to tell people what's happening.
I see. I believe in the retelling because I was not there. You had talked about not recording and then just, to your point, accidentally kind of a lot of thoughts came out. And
Sophie had really big feelings. I did not feel like stopping her mid-emotion, and also...
I agree. It was the right move. It was the right move.
But what's really needed right now is for you, Jaclynn, to perhaps give a disclaimer why people might be so surprised that this beloved movie didn't land for you.
It was a bit of a bummer. It was a roller coaster. I definitely went on a roller coaster because in my head, I'd never seen it. I'd never seen A Fish Called Wanda. And in my head, for some strange reason, my like little kid head had conflated A Fish Called Wanda and Mermaids, the Cher movie. And I was very excited to find out that it was a heist movie written by John Cleese, comedic king. Love my Monty Python, love some British comedy. I love like a heist set in London. That's like that just is a collection of my very favorite things. Jamie Lee Curtis back again, right? We've been like on a real Jamie Lee Curtis kick. I'll be bringing another movie of hers in soon.
I'm supposed to ask, are you on Jamie Lee Curtis's payroll?
No, but I would be Jamie Lee. Also, my dear friend, O'Brien Kelly, is doing a documentary with her. You know, we bring each other movies and we kind of all watch them and we embrace them and we take them very seriously. And I was excited to talk about it. It does a lot well. It does a lot of comedic things very technically well. You know, it feels like it's written by a member of Monty Python. You know, there's callbacks. There's like all of these beautiful things that I did enjoy. But it was really offensive. I was real uncomfortable. I have a lot of trouble divorcing the writer and the actors and like sort of all the choices that get made in production from like the movie. So I couldn't just like enjoy the movie because I was so busy thinking about how John Cleese wrote this thing that he gets to be this like doofus who like this young hot woman just can't resist. And then they get to hook up. Like I find that really creepy. And that's like kind of a common pattern of like men who write things for themselves. And then they get to just sort of be these like doofuses, but then they end up getting to hook up with these gorgeous hot young women. And the age difference, I even looked it up. I was like, maybe they're not as far apart in age as I think. And it was like, no, she was a very young Jamie Lee Curtis. And then she literally makes out with like all of the men, you know, like she's just used as a prop and kind of like a sex prop. And she has some of her own agency and she does have some complexity to character, but not a ton. I didn't enjoy the speech impediment being a punchline. Like I didn't find that nothing about that was funny at all to me. I was just cruel and unfunny. A thing that I liked is how visual the intro was. So the intro tells you who each of these people are really quickly. That's something I really liked. I thought that was strong. But like all she gets is like, I'm pretty and I'm leaving the jewelry store. Like she's not super fleshed out and she's mostly just a sexual prop. And even like in interviews, she kind of talks about, I gave them all breath mints, you know, haha. Like she tries to play it off, but it's hard for me to not just feel uncomfortable and a little disgusted. And some stuff has come out about John Cleese. Careful who your heroes are. I don't know. I wanted to like it more than I did, but I just found it hard to watch in 2025.
So I saw it when it first came out, and I saw it with some friends of mine, and we all loved it. We all thought it was very funny. And when I watched it this last time, I watched it twice. The first time I was very much struck by how problematic it could probably be for a modern audience. And since the way we watch movies now is so much different because of all the information we have outside about the people who make them and also how they're made. And I loved that Cole sent us the oral history, the Vanity Fair? The Vanity Fair oral history. And there were some things in it that made a lot of sense as to why it's basically a farce. A bunch of very extreme characters behaving in very extreme ways and knocking up against each other. Also, Cole mentioned it's a heist movie, and it is, I never realized, it is exactly a heist movie. It's like, but the heist happens in the first 15 minutes. What you would see is normally just a heist. Like, they don't spend the whole movie planning the heist like in Ocean's 11. It's like they plan it, and then the heist is still going on even after the diamonds have been stolen. And that's awesome.
That is awesome.
I really love that.
It is a beloved classic that before watching it, I was extremely expecting to be one of our biggest, most laugh out loud yuck-a-minute episodes, because all I've heard about it is it's Monty Python, but in the real world.
Which sounds a great tagline. It's a comedy masterclass and a class of what not to do. I can't always separate the artist from the art. And sometimes I try because I want to take the comedy masterclass. Like, I don't want to limit my references, but also, it was hard for me to separate this idea that this specific man wrote this thing and then cast a young actor to then be able to make out with her. Like, I can't. And I can't do that with a lot of things. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to hold a lot of things true at the same time. Like, yes, this is technically very good comedy, and it makes me uncomfortable, and I don't really like to support it. I think there's room for a lot more complication and gray area and things. And this certainly is both.
The thing that bugged me, I do not think that Jamie Lee Curtis was supposed to end up with him. I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was the femme fatale.
Yeah, I wish she had just stolen all the money.
Yeah.
And I think that was the OG ending.
And I remember from the oral history, they were going to like pan down to her shoes when they were in Aruba or wherever they flew off to, and the shoes were going to be sharks to show that she's still screwing with Archie Leach. And I thought that would have been a much stronger ending, because it's like they're all reprehensible. And that thing about them ending up together really kind of, I don't believe it. And I'm disappointed. I am like, oh man, like why did you soften this up? Why did you?
Did the oral history state that there was a screening? There were like audience screenings, and the audience was dying for the shitty ending.
Yeah.
And they hated the good ending.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Not surprising.
May I add, especially not surprising in 1980, whatever.
I was thinking that too. I was like, I think we'd feel different in 2025. I feel like perhaps audiences would be like, ugh, no.
Yeah.
That was a great button. Is there anything else that either of you?
I will just say thank you to Sophie, since I didn't get to say it in real time. Huge thank you to Sophie, and thanks for bringing it and like sharing your vulnerability and take. And sorry that I wasn't there for it. Yeah, thank you, Sophie. And now, without further ado, please enjoy the rest of the show with no Jaclynn. Dame, Jaclynn sensei. Dozo kudasai. That's like if a 5-year-old said it.
I'm in no way attached to this, but then it's also of its time, and there are some problematic things. I don't know, Robbie, what do you think?
I find the jumping off point of a movie to be like a good way to get into any discussion. If we start with A Fish Called Wanda and then end up not talking about it at all, I'm totally fine with that. Stories aren't always about stories. They're about more than that. They're about our experiences with them.
And then the other part of it was with this film was the rewatching aspect and the masking and the learning how to be a person. But that's a whole other thing. I don't know if you want to talk about.
I'm extremely interested in it because how much movies teach kids how to act in the world. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that prior to. So that's a very interesting topic to me personally.
Yeah. It actually feels good talking about it because, of course, other people do this as well. Other people feel like outsiders and feel more connected sometimes to movies and TV than they do to other people. And then you do mirror that, and we're all kind of pretending. And I think, again, I like the theatricality of these types of shows, that it's so on the surface performative. The being in the world version of when you find these movies, and especially at, I think, critical times in your life, and how that changes your behavior in certain ways. But I learned to mask, if you know that term, in my teens. So that's when you kind of pretend to fit in with people and learn sort of from scripted stuff how you're supposed to be. Looking back at my age to who I was when I was 13 to 15 and this little kid trying to learn how to be a person, I was very, very shy. I was very weird. I didn't fit in. And then I realized watching this back again that it's where I kind of learned a lot of performative femininity. I was watching Jamie Lee Curtis's character and going, that's what a woman is supposed to be, and started like very specifically copying her. I mean, I liked her character not only because it was obviously that she was objectified and very sexy, but she was smart and funny and powerful. And that genuinely those things, you know, the sexuality stuff was very surfacey. She did that deliberately, but, you know, it was her brains that got her there. But yeah.
I've tried to find a couple facts about Wanda that, like, let's just say the 80s sexuality.
Yeah.
For instance, when Cleese had written her in to do a nude scene, or she was supposed to be the caught nude, she said it'd be funnier if Cleese were nude.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that as well.
Archie, are you rich?
No, I'm afraid not.
I fell into the theme of deception and masking, and watching Jamie Lee Curtis's character deliberately pretend to be other people. I think now, this is the pretentious bit, I can now see that sort of seeped in, that there was something about watching another woman dressing up and creating someone that I guess really resonated with me.
That's George's lawyer. The other guy must be the barrister. I knew it! You're Archie Leach.
Leech.
Right. I love the way you cross-examine.
Then the other part of it was that with film, I'm much more drawn in by sound and dialogue far more than visuals. And this is an example of, I feel like, set pieces of rhythm, and there's a quality of dance to it, and they feel like set pieces of almost dance, and it's not a new revelation that comedy is very like music and stand-up is very musical, and there's something about this that has that quality to it.
All of the poetry and the musicality, you just described the reasons I didn't physically laugh, because I was listening to it as that, not as make me laugh. It was like, no, you're making art and it's musical and you are dancing to a point. So that is exactly how I was engaging with it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I assumed that you guys would engage with it differently, that I could get the visuals from you, but I love that. I love that there was an overture and a score, and that every character had their own little type of music. But all of my rewatch films have that, you know, with The Princess Bride, the whole inconceivable, the word, the way that he does it. I experience films in such a visceral feeling shape kind of way. So I love that you said that, both of you.
Yeah, and the rhythm thing that you talked about was very much, it's all over my notes. It's like, I didn't think about it as a dance, but it's exactly like, there's a cadence, and it is so important to how the scenes move and to the relationships between the people, or between the characters, and then how the story itself progresses. When I first saw this, it was, in my understanding of how comedy worked, it was like I'd seen a lot of TV and a lot of, you know, like a lot of sitcoms. And then I saw Monty Python and I was like, whoa. And then there was like this, and for me, if I look back on it, there was like a little bit of Monty Python, but also a little bit of American comedy rhythms and American sentiments and American emotions. And it was fairly profound and hilarious. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, some of the more juvenile parts were still like, the killing of the dogs was like the height of comedy as a, as like a 14-year-old, like, but it was so smart because it was not only like, it wasn't just the death of animals that was funny, but it was Michael Palin's vulnerability made manifest. Like, he loves animals and he really wants to do right by this guy, but in order to do right by this guy, he keeps doing things that lead to the death of the things he loves most. And I just found that to be so satisfying. And so, I don't want to say profound, but like smart, the way that it works. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad you found it funny. Go on, Cole.
Oh, I was going to say you could almost say profound because the killing of dogs in a story is like worse than the killing of a human in real life.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, in real life, exactly.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And for them to create a situation where that was both the funniest thing to do and the most painful thing for that character to do is the greatest feat that's ever been achieved in storytelling.
I mean, I struggled with all of that, actually. I really struggled. And as soon as I picked that, I went, I'm killing a dog. Jaclynn's not going to like that. I really struggled with those. I struggled with him eating the fish. I was lucky that I could see that they were clearly rubber, or I would have been very upset. I was upset by all those bits. But I always found it interesting. There was an interview with John Cleese afterwards, and he said when they run over the dog and you see it, so the first time they did it, it was much more realistic, and the audience just went and pulled back and couldn't take it. And then they redid it with that sort of just flat, like just a Muppet kind of thing, and then everyone was able to laugh. And I actually tend to find slapstick violence incredibly funny.
Yeah.
Because it's such a taboo inside me, because I'm so horrified by real violence that I think there's something about knowing that it's fake at this huge level that, I mean, people hitting each other with saucepans and then bouncing back and being in a cartoon and it's so clearly being fake, I think is the funniest thing in the world. But I couldn't watch Tom and Jerry cartoons because I was so sorry for Tom and for the cat. But when it's a human person in the real world who just doesn't get any bruises or anything boinks back, nothing is funnier to me.
Right. Friends is slapstick. The goofiness of it, like the goofy physicality, the verbal dexterity. It
wouldn't have occurred to me to call Friends slapstick, but I can send you a link to see the kind of dance of, again, it's all because it's all choreographed. That's another thing that it felt like to me in this movie was that it was choreographed, that it was like a filmed play, that everything, just like in fight scenes, everything is choreographed.
Yeah.
I find that very satisfying in the same rhythmic way as I find words satisfying.
Do you find that upon first viewing, or do you find that over multiple viewings?
Different.
Different? Okay.
I definitely love it on first viewing. And then as it becomes more and more familiar to me, I like it more and I experience it again in a different way. In like your favorite piece of music, when you hear it for the first time, it's different and it's exciting and it does something to you. And then if you listen to it again and again, you've got that understanding of it. You've got the deep history with it. You know it so much better. And so I think when I know it better and I've seen it a lot, that's when I really enjoy it. And then the familiarity of it, which is another neurodivergent thing of just knowing where everything's going to happen. And again, it is like a piece of music that you may have memorized. That's when I find it the most comforting, even though it's violent. So I tend to like it more and more as it goes on.
Yeah.
But it's exciting or different or funny the first time. But I'll have to send you this thing of in bottom of them just hitting each other with saucepans. And I will never not laugh. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. It's like watching a ballet. The choreography is so great that I can see Swan Lake 100 times and I appreciate it the same way every time because of that beautiful dance to it.
Wow, I can't believe that I would want to apply the word profound to the description of slapstick, but that was quite profound.
Thank you.
It's Yeah.
You know what I mean about the rhythm of physical comedy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the rhythm, because it's how I experience movies generally. Not always, but with a lot of, especially the rewatch ones, as I realized, there's just the rhythm to the choreographedness of physical comedy. Yeah, I've never really watched, Jackie Chan movies or things like that, any kind of vaguely realistic violence. But now that I'm a bit older, I love that too. It's got the same, a beautifully choreographed fight sequence when you know that no one's really getting hurt is like a dance, and there's a rhythm to it. And comedy is just rhythm to me. I go to sleep at night when I was anxious, listening to my favorite comedy specials with the volume turned low, because I could just hear the rhythm of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear the rhythm, and I can say it all to you verbatim because of the beautiful rhythm of setup, punchline, waiting, hearing the audience laugh. The best, my favorites, the bits are like slapstick, are like dance, they're rhythm. And the more you hear it again and again, because I will watch specials again and again. And I think I do watch them now, not for the joke, but like you were saying, Cole, watching the elegance of it, seeing the art of it is why I like to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
I feel films as particular shapes, for example. This is a very square film. That's how it feels for me. There's a precision to it. There's a mathematical precision to it, which I find the case with a lot of Cleese's writing. So, the argument sketch, Robbie, from Monty Python.
Yes. Uh-huh.
The precision of the writing there.
An argument is a connected series of statements to establish a definite proposition.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. It isn't just contradiction.
Look, if I argue with you, I must take up a contrary position.
But it isn't just saying no, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. Argument's an intellectual process. Contradiction is just the automatic gainsaying of anything the other person says.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Not at all.
No, look.
Thank you.
Or even like Who's on First. Who's on First isn't square, Who's on First is round. But that is another really good example to me of rhythm and the satisfaction I get in listening to that again and again, partly because they're so brilliant. Rope is another really good example of that for me, the Alfred Hitchcock film.
Oh.
That's like a one shot, so that would have a rhythm to it. But wordplay, like part of the rhythm is wordplay. I can almost watch films without visuals at all. Most of them. Most of my favorite films are like that. Personally, what I'd love to, to talk about that interested me was that musicality, and I was so shocked, not so shocked, but shocked that you guys experienced that too, certainly as filmmakers. I can probably find the element of rhythm and sound in just about anything, but there are some that are more obvious than others. There's some stuff in there that's also problematic, which is what happens when you bring things from the 80s. But yeah, if we can find one that's less wrought and still feels good in 2025. And
this is an intellectual question for you, Sophie, and a production question for you, Robbie. Are 80s movies just that much more frequently problematic than, say, are movies from the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, when things were even more problematic in real life? And are we going to have this conversation every time we choose a film that's like pre-2014?
I mean, there are definitely some movies that have been released since then that are just as problematic. I think it's a comedy discussion, because there are certain kinds of comedies that are much less tolerated now than they were back then. Have you ever seen Breakfast at Tiffany's?
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I know what you're referring to.
Yeah. Coming out of the 70s, which was a very tense time in the United States, politically, culturally, socially, there was like a resexual awakening and a re-examination of mores. And I can only talk about that from the United States point of view. I don't know what other countries were like, and I don't know how other countries were seeing us, but Reagan was elected, America was becoming more confident again, and the movies were taking more risks sexually than they were previous, and they were less gritty, and they were less raw, and they were more optimistic, and more fluffy. And having lived through it, that was my like main like, and comedies were beginning to make a lot of money at the movies. People were looking to go to comedies, and I don't know if the 80s were more problematic. I just know it was a different time with different things being accepted, with different ideas being accepted. I'm not an authority on that. I just know the difference between the comedies now and the comedies then. And comedies have always been problematic, always, because there's a certain cruelty to them.
So I actually had a VCR. I had a videotape of this that was taped off of Australian television that I would watch it over and over and over and over. And when I went back, they cut out a lot. There was a lot in there that I don't remember. Like, I didn't realize that there was the F slur in there. Like, that was never on Australian television. And I guess I never watched it on a streaming service.
Right.
So there was so many things that were cut out that I was like, ooh, oopsies. It's not just 1988. There's some problematic stuff in there. And then also because I watched it so much as a kid, really, I didn't get a lot of the issues with it again until I watched it now. So I can kind of understand it, but it's sort of very personal. Like one of the other reasons I brought it was just how personal it is and how much of my story it is. So like there's already a massive vulnerability in a lot of what I talk about with this. So I don't know how well I'm in this way able to separate it into a story, but then it's also of its time and there are some problematic things. I don't know, Robbie, what do you think?
Overwhelmingly, I agree with what Cole said. Like our relation, I mean, one thing that's coming up as we do more of these, and we've done like a lot, and I think that one thing is coming up is that our relationships to movies are very specific. There are things that we like that the other person doesn't like, but we dig deep to try to figure out why they like them and what's likable about them and appreciating where the other person is coming from. And so to take a movie like this and then apply a context to it that doesn't exist in the real world, doesn't exist in reviews, it doesn't exist in our understanding of it or our experience of it, is very compelling to me. Like, we did Hobbs and Shaw, which Jaclynn loves. And I'm like, I don't get it, but yeah, it's also equally compelling to me from like a friendship standpoint, from a human standpoint. So I'm intrigued, but I'm also intrigued because what you're proposing is a little bit of nuance in a world that doesn't seem nuanced right now. And that to me is compelling, but I also see the dangers in it. Like exposing yourself to that might be different in Australia than it is here. I can see where exposing that part of yourself could be risky in the same way that exposing any part of yourself in the United States is these days.
I thought that I was bringing a much less vulnerable thing with this than the whole. I thought that the whole was actually much more vulnerable, and then realized that actually this one is. And it really is, because it was literally, I've got to not cry on your podcast. But it was one of those, okay, I'll cry on your podcast. It was one of those films that was my friend, when I was 12 to 14. And it's problematic and there are issues with it, but I love it so much.